Family is important. Friends are important. Human interaction is very important. And being cooped up in the house that whole time, it made me really realize that, as human being, we are wired to be out there and interacting and, just having human interactions out there. Yeah.
Because I remember my sister graduated and they had to stream their all-in graduation. We as family, we couldn't even attend her graduation. So we had to log into YouTube and watch the full streaming. So you're imagining, you just graduated with your engineering and your family's not there. We're just watching you walk across the stage on the technology.
Yeah.
Welcome back to another episode. This is Girl Dynasty. As you can see, one of us actually is not here today. Beth is out of town and we had to do what we had to do.
Yeah.
So ladies, today I have an interesting topic. My colleague and I were just talking at work and we were just reminiscing about what happened during the pandemic, because we're beginning to see many cases of COVID kind of come back. So we're just like, oh my God, I hope it doesn't lead into another lockdown. And we were just like, oh my God, we learned a lot of things during the pandemic. So I was like, that's an interesting topic to talk about. Yes, what did we learn about, or maybe during the pandemic, about our lives, about just everything else that we didn't know before the pandemic.
This topic, shout out to John Soy.
Yes.
He actually gave us an idea. And, if there's something that we all learned during the pandemic is that the CEO of the company is not everything. It's actually it's not the it factor. But in the best way possible. But you have your truck drivers, you have your the boots on the ground, people who are actually making sure your food is getting to the stores, your food is getting to the table. So those people, we realize, man, we could not survive without those careers.
Yes. Exactly. Wow. I mean, the frontline people are the ones that, really came out for us during the pandemic. During the pandemic, all of us were locked in. We were just, sheltering in place. And the frontline staff are the ones who had to go into work and actually drive those trucks and make sure that we all get fed and make sure that the grocery store folks had to make sure that it is stocked up. So we really do appreciate everybody who was frontline and going into work.
Yes.
And just Elsie, to tag on that, to be honest, sometimes when you go into a grocery store and you don't even pay attention to the people who work there. You're just busy checking out. Those were the times I really realized how important they were. Oh my God, just somebody coming to work and just checking you out and trying to keep that distance. Can you just imagine the stress? Maybe you have a family member who's sick back at home, but you have to show up at work and continue working. That was absolutely kind of heartbreaking and heartwarming at the same time. But I really learned how to appreciate those people.
And you too, Lillian, you are a frontline staff because you work as a nurse. So talk to us about that.
So my career, literally nursing, kicked in exactly the days that the pandemic were actually also kind of creeping in. Yes, so I think I was 2 months out of college.
Wow.
Yeah. And we were just thrown into the pandemic, and holy moly. It was kind of, I don't know what was, maybe it was just because I was still a new nurse, so I still had that ambition to go and take care of people. So I just felt the need to go just and work all the time. And at that particular time, we were losing a lot of nurses too. Either to sickness or people were just getting so burnt out, because COVID came with a lot of things. It came with a lot of regulations. You'll be literally working in the middle of the day, they say, oh, policies have changed. It's back to square one. So it was so hard on nurses and even the CNS. CNS are certified nursing assistants. The Maydays, everybody, janitors at the hospital, it was overwhelming. And a lot of nurses ended up actually leaving the profession to go pursue something different. But I was devastated. I remember there was actually a guy, he's still with me up to today. He was young. He was only 31 years old, and he came healthy, never been sick, never been hospitalized before. He came, I think he was just doing a follow-up checkup on something. And, they had to swab you all the time you go in. So the guy actually had COVID, and he just went from there downhill, and then after a few days he had gone. So for me that was like, wow. That is a guy who was literally healthy, and then he's no more. So the value of life at that particular time for me was like, you have to take and treat everybody with love. Just imagine his family, they didn't know they were going to lose him within maybe 2 weeks. And then he's no more. So for me, the value of life in itself was like, had a different definition of what it truly means to people.
Yeah, I mean, we did learn a lot during this pandemic, and I think what really stuck for me is how resilient we can be as human beings.
Wow.
Yeah, we have this inborn resilience that just kicked in, because I don't know about people, but I didn't really expect. I mean, this is the first pandemic we've lived through,
right?
And for everybody, the first pandemic, nobody was sick. Well, there were a few people who were here for the Spanish flu, but they are now in their 90s. But for us, this was my first pandemic, and it did not come with a script of what to do and what not to do. But it just shows how resilient human beings are, because we had to change and switch so fast and modify. Who knew that we could work from home? Yeah, that was a big thing, that we could continue working from home. And that's when I found out what Zoom was. Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and you can all have meetings through that, and actually work gets done when you're at home. So ability to adapt to life as it is, that was big for me.
And I also think the other thing too that we, or at least I learned, is just the importance of human interaction. We are taking it for granted until we couldn't just go out and meet our friends and, go to celebrate your dad's birthday with them. Just having that people-to-people contact, man, it just made me feel like we are very privileged that we can even sit here together and just see each other every day and have these conversations. So it's just the things like that we usually take for granted or don't even realize that we started really paying attention to, wow, I do appreciate you. And I feel like even with that, another thing that came out of it, I feel like it's also gratitude. It made us stop being, materialistic and this is job, being to more, I do truly care about all the people that I love.
I kind of love that. For me, I think one of the things I learned was just the little things that you can work with. Before the pandemic, we were like, mask what? Who wears a mask? But we realized even how missing a mask at that particular time was very crucial. And we had people making masks with pieces of clothes, and we literally appreciated even having something to cover our faces with, because we didn't have anything else. And for me, that was just like something out of this world. Like, really, we are at that point where we have to use our bandanas to cover our mouths, and we were just like, bandanas for what? For our heads, maybe when you're sleeping at night. But at that particular time, I realized just little things, they really do go along.
And in the same token with that, we also realize how little we can survive with or without. I mean, you can survive without sugar. I knew that, you don't have to take sugar. If you don't have to, you don't have to have a piece of cake every day. No, you can survive with the basic canned food. Without getting your nails done.
Exactly. Without getting your hair done. It was interesting.
Because all those places were closed for a while. And the other big thing that I actually was reflecting on is the importance of saving for a rainy day. That was a true rainy day situation. I feel so bad for the many people who lost their jobs, who became sick, lost their job for one reason or another. Some became sick, others just were not able to go into work. Some got laid off because their jobs dependent on being in person, So that is a lot of things that we really did appreciate. So saving for a rainy day and just having a plan. And we were lucky here in America because there was a lot of help available for those who could not afford to pay their mortgage, to pay their rent. There were food banks that were dropping off food and so on. So saving for a day that you would need it, that was big.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing too that the pandemic taught us is the importance or how much we appreciate just slowing down.
Yes.
Man, just before the pandemic, you know, we're humans. We get into a routine and it's just wake up, work, school, home, wake up. Like it's just like, you know, it's hustling and bustling out there. And during the pandemic, a lot of those, you know, entertainment places or actual places of employment or driving were closed. So we were left with our own devices. So you're just home with your phone, with your laptop or whatever, with the TV. And really, that slowing down, surprisingly, opened up a lot of people's creativity.
Yes, it did.
For some reason, who knew we would be shooting videos?
Yes.
Like, you know, like opening YouTube channels and starting business. It was crazy.
That's how TikTok actually blew up. Everyone was on TikTok that particular time. Because the entertainment was done from the comfort of your bedroom. So you don't have to go somewhere.
And all the DJs that were entertaining us. COVID DJs.
Shout out to them, by the way, because they kept us entertained.
Oh, they kept us alive. So, we truly appreciated that.
Yeah.
Another thing I learned... Oh, did you want to say something?
No, go for it.
Another thing I learned, to be honest, was just the generosity of the humanity in itself.
Yes.
People were generous at that particular time. I had never seen so much generosity at that particular time until COVID hit. Just have like maybe even make some lasagna and take it to somebody who doesn't have it. It was just like, for me, it was one of the moments I really appreciated humankind.
Yeah, and that is really true. And going back to that mental health aspect, you know, you really don't appreciate what you have until it's taken away from you. And one of the big things that I have had a lot of my friends and family say is, you know, the slowing down really made us appreciate importance of family. Family is important. Friends are important. Human interaction is very important. And being cooped up in the house that whole time, it made me really realize that, you know, as human beings, we are wired to be out there and interacting and, you know, just having human interactions out there.
Love that. One other aspect when it comes to interaction, I think, is just the perspective of appreciating nature. You know, the way we were just like, who cares about oxygen? We just get out and we breathe in and breathe out, right? But when I was a nurse and I saw how people were struggling just to breathe for a simple thing as oxygen, and this is a person who doesn't have COPD or pneumonia or anything. It's just like a young person who can't breathe. And you see a child who's 6 months old, like literally having 80 breaths per minute. That was for me a moment where I was like, wow, appreciate just nature. Even for my own kids, I have kids, the fact that they couldn't even go out to play was like, wow, the world is really changing. And nowadays I'm like, if the sun comes out and it's a moment to get out, let's go out and play. Like, I really appreciated nature.
You know, those things that are free, like oxygen, you really don't think about it and you take it for granted.
You do.
Until you actually need it and you're not able to breathe on your own and have to have all this machine. Appreciating nature. I love nature. I like being out there and just enjoying myself. So I see how that is truly important.
And you know, one thing about nature, they always say, if you abuse nature, it will come and bite you so bad. So nowadays I'm a big advocate of just like preserving everything that nature has to offer. It is planting trees, it is anything, like conserving even just little streams of rivers. Just conserve that. You need it at some point.
And I also think that the pandemic kind of strengthened each other's adaptability strength. Like, you know, we realized that actually we have it in us that to adapt to situations and not being so rigid that we can't change. You know, okay, we don't have masks because there's a shortage. We can just take this handkerchief or bandana and use it. Just little things like that I don't think we've just, you know, sat down and really appreciated that, wow, we can actually be resourceful when we need to.
Yeah, the other thing that I saw generally here in the US is how your home, how much you can appreciate your home, you know, during COVID, because that is where you live in, and that is your house. And there was a big rise in the real estate market became a seller's market. Where everybody was trying, it was booming, the real estate market booming, and everybody's trying to buy a house, because all of a sudden you realize that this house that I have, you know, I could use an office space, I could use all this. So there was a boom in the real estate market with people trying to find better accommodations that fit their needs. And with most people going remote, or some people are still remote up to today, working remotely, and some people working a few days. Like for me, I work 2 days from home. So that having that office space is important.
Oh my goodness, yes. And realizing that if you're in a household that so many people have cars, we don't need all the cars.
No, we don't. Just one is enough.
Yes. One person to get from point A to point B.
You know, something that came out of this pandemic that I really have learned to appreciate, having been someone who lived in Kenya for a long time and then moved here to the US. As you said, it helped us slow down. I find the life here to be very fast-paced and very structured. Fast-paced, structured, and you know, for a moment we slowed down. And I know I've worked in places before that were like working from home is a no-no. Like you have to be physically present in the office. But now we're still working from home partly, and things are going fine. The work is getting done. So if there's one positive thing that I really like from the pandemic is the fact that we can now work from home.
Oh my gosh, yes. I cannot agree more. And speaking for myself, I feel like I'm more talking from a person that's like a people person. I want to be out there, I want to interact with everyone. But that working from home, and I just found myself that I'm actually more productive. I'm more focused in, and I can actually achieve more. But again, talking about the human interaction, just having that, now we can say this, that we appreciate, we love working from home, but we're coming from a place that we know we can, and we know we can also go out and go see people.
Because the difference with the pandemic is that you were working from home and you could not go out for happy hours and stuff. But now you're working from home, and after 5 o'clock, when everything is said and done, dusted, it's now your personal time. You can go out, have dinner with friends, and do all these other things that you want.
One other thing, maybe it's not something that we learned, but it's something that it was exposed. Do you know how the way they always say, like, which is the most trusted career? They used to say nurses. And now you find there's actually like a little bit of a doubt in nursing as a profession. Because at that point, you're pushing for people to be vaccinated. I don't want to get political, but they were pushing for people to be vaccinated. Even then, some other nurses were not for the vaccination, right? But it exposed a lot of and trustness to a point, and if not even the trustness in itself, even the burning out of itself for the nurses themselves, it drove a whole lot of nurses into something they were not even planning to. So what's the point of me working in a COVID unit? I'm 60 years old, I only have 5 years to go, and I have an opportunity to go work from home. People are taking those opportunities and leaving. Me, for myself, I didn't even know I can work from home as a nurse. Yes, there's a point actually I was working from home. I still do on a partly basis. But I didn't even know I could explore that opportunity to work from home. But that also depletes the number of nurses who are working on the floor. So we find nowadays we have that big short staffness that's going on right now. And it's becoming a norm, which it shouldn't. So it just exposed a lot of issues in healthcare itself. And people went into working for agencies because agencies were paying more money. So it was more like taking an opportunity to even gain more from insurance companies, from whatever. But it was just, for me, an exposure of the things that we don't like to see in healthcare as a profession.
I was thinking this morning, as getting ready this morning, I was just thinking about, you know, the way international travel has changed because of COVID. That is something I don't like at all.
Right.
It is a hassle to travel internationally right now. You have to get the COVID test,
And it's
96 hours,
expensive.
and those things are expensive.
Yes.
Getting the COVID test, registering with the EAs, wherever the health
The health department.
health department, traveling, and it's just a whole hassle of traveling. I miss those days when you could just buy a ticket, get on a plane and go.
Yes.
Yeah, international, I mean. But
It is
now
hard.
all the restrictions with COVID, that is crazy.
It
Yeah.
is. Yep.
Yeah.
You cough on the plane like funny. People are like, hey, what's happening? It could be a chance of you being kicked out of the plane, right?
One to those who have allergies.
It really exposed a lot of fears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knew we could bleach everything, you know?
Right?
Yeah.
Lysol clean.
Lysol
Wow.
clean. Yeah.
Talk about being extremely clean.
Yes.
Yeah.
You buy like fruits from a grocery store and you have to wash everything with soap and water, you know?
Right away.
Yeah.
Or vinegar.
We
Yeah.
never used to do that. You just
Yeah.
like run on a tap of water and
Yeah.
you're good.
Yeah.
But nowadays you have to be very cautious. I feel like we're kind of loosening a little bit, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah. But I feel like also we are also getting into those periods, especially going into fall. It could be coming back. We don't know, but we're always now cautious in our minds. Like,
Yeah.
what if? You know, we have mostly we have what if questions in our mind.
Right.
Yes.
Especially right now with the cases coming back.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then we have monkeypox.
Right.
So you're just like,
Oh my
okay.
goodness. Don't hear us again.
Yeah.
And another thing too that it taught us is how reliant we are or we've become on our technology.
Yes.
Man, like we just to be able to even have something going on, you need to have a cell phone and you need to have data so you can at least entertain yourself on TikTok or learn something. Even students, you know, being a parent during that time, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
You know, having, because I remember parents had to
Yeah,
teach
they
their
had
kids, or they
the
had
kids,
to.
yeah, they were actually studying from home through various methods. But yeah, I can't imagine how hard that was. You have to go to work, but again, you have to be there to turn on every equipment that they need for school. Yeah.
Oh, the pandemic was so hard on kids. That is one thing I felt so bad for the children. Yeah. Yeah. It was, I mean, for kids, it is hard for children to sit in front of a computer and learn, you know, all day. They just need that human interaction, touch and all of that. So I really felt bad for kids, especially like kids in Kenya did not go to school for a year or something like that. And then kids here in America had to go remote and use computers. I really felt bad for the kids. Yeah.
Even the graduates. Because I remember my sister graduated and they had to stream their online graduation. We as family, we couldn't even attend her graduation. So we had to like log into YouTube and watch the full streaming. So you're imagining you just graduated with your engineering and your family's not there. We're just like, you know, watching you walk across the stage on the technology.
Yeah.
And you know, we come from Africa, we have to go like
Hug.
a whole bus, right?
And
a whole school bus.
Yes. Yeah. The joy of graduating is actually having a ceremony and actually having the family there appreciating you. So I can see that. I really can see that.
Yeah, I didn't even attend my own graduation for my BSN. I was just home. Yeah, because like, where do you go?
Right.
You just watch it from online and then that's done.
Yeah.
There's no excitement.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. I think for me also, when you talk about the mental aspects, you know, we can, as much as we are adaptable to everything, but I feel like it was so much stressful for each and every person.
Yes.
So it exposed a lot of mental issues that maybe we were dealing with, but we were suppressing them so much. Those were the days people were blowing up, just like you see somebody doing a live on Facebook, you just realize, oh my God, they're depressed. Yeah, but you know,
Anxiety levels
they went up. Yeah. I was reading somewhere divorce levels were also skyrocketing like crazy. Even the amount of people using alcohol, it went so high.
Speaking of alcohol, I became a bartender.
Exactly.
Like, oh my gosh, I can make you the best cocktails, the best mocktails.
Because you learn all the tricks just by yourself with your phone. you go to the University of YouTube and you just Google everything.
You learn something.
You learn something. You learn how to be a champ when it comes to making mocktails.
Yeah. And the other sad thing about the pandemic, with everybody coped in, there was a rise in domestic violence.
Yes.
Yeah, there was a big rise in domestic violence. So that was one negative that came out of that. People not being able to process their emotions well. So that's another thing.
And it got to a point where even just watching the news became a little toxic, not because of the message on there, but it's already an environment where we're operating on fear, uncertainty, and then all you see on the TV is just like numbers going up. And it happened to be in the middle of an election season here. So it was just like politics, COVID. Politics, COVID. Like we couldn't catch a breath. And I feel like that is truly what led to the rise of TikTok. You're like, okay, I need something else. I want to see people just dancing on the screen or something.
Yeah, that is very true. And also it exposed a lot of poverty levels.
Oh yeah, exactly.
There's a big difference in people who have and people who don't. Even back home in Kenya, I feel like if you didn't have money at that particular time, maybe you're so used to going and doing this we call kibarua. And it's no more. How do you feed your kids?
Right.
I would think about those people like every day, and I would just be so sad and just wonder how they even feed their kids. Can you imagine going to the hospital to go have a baby and you don't have food? That's sad. So I feel like even here in America, it exposed a lot of disparities when it comes to people with money and people who don't.
And then another sad part, and I'll try not to get into my soapbox. It's it's just the fact that, you know, you've lost your loved one. And you cannot even go mourn them. Like the people were just getting buried without family being there. And I feel, to me, like that is the part that you didn't get a chance to say your goodbyes. And because you would, okay, I'm getting emotional, but that's, you know, some things like that, the little things. Like,
and I can attest to that. You've got an iPad at work, and you can see people depreciating, and it's their end stage of life.
And there's no one there to hold their hands.
There's nothing you can do. We became family to those people, and they became family to us. And I remember this guy who he couldn't speak English. And I was actually helping him to translate to the daughter. The daughter actually, not the daughter, actually, I think it was one of the grandchildren. And and then 2 days later, he died.
That's
so
sad.
You can imagine it was his way of saying goodbye, because he insisted of talking to that grandchild. And that was sad. And you could see the appreciation in their face, just you taking your time coming to hold an iPad for them. The things that we never used to take for, like, seriously. All of a sudden, you just want to see your family member through an iPad. It's a moment you cherish for life.
FaceTime.
Yes. And man, it was hard. And sad at the same time.
Because if you're fortunate enough to work and be an essential worker, you were really getting burnt out, because you're the lifeline between the produce or patients and whatever services you're offering. So there was that where if you can walk, you're really working hard, and if you're not working, it's just a moment of, how do I feed my family?
Exactly.
Oh man, we learned a lot from the pandemic. For me, I'm going to go deep here and say one of the biggest things that I learned is you can go at any time. And that's really hit me, that, you know, tomorrow is never guaranteed. You can go at any time. So how do you live your life? You choose to live your life the way you want to live your life. So I personally made a decision and a choice to live my life in a way that it makes me happy. I know a lot of people usually think that, you know, we will go to heaven one day, and it's okay going to heaven, and that's where all the happiness and all the love is and all of that. But for me, I choose to make this earth my heaven.
Your heaven.
If I feel like going out to eat today, I'm going to go out and eat today. Maybe I don't want to cook. If I feel like, you know, taking a vacation and I have the extra money, I will take that vacation. Because if you go, all that money in the bank account, someone else is going to fight over it once you're gone. I mean, it was just shocking to see how people were okay. Then all of a sudden they catch COVID and they deteriorate and they're gone in like a very short period of time.
Yeah.
And that is hard. It's kind of like shocking, you know. Yeah. So I learned that you can go at any time.
Right.
Wow.
You choose how to live your life. If there's something you wanted to do it.
Wow, I could not agree more. And I do feel the same way. I feel like, I feel like after the pandemic, I just acquired this new zest in life that's why you'll find me just doing videos and all these things and just being authentically me. Because I'm thinking, this is our second chance. We got a chance to still be here, and then why not appreciate the life that we have? That oxygen, just walking outside and being out there is actually a privilege. Who knew that?
Yeah.
Like, you know what?
Right.
Just leave it up.
Yeah.
Leave it up.
Sometimes I call my sisters and I'm like, oh my goodness, it's a great day today. And they're like, oh no, what happened?
The sun is out, guys.
The sun is out today and it's shining. It's a beautiful day.
Flowers are popping.
Flowers are popping. And they're like, are you okay?
I think another thing for me that I learned was the power of communication.
Yeah.
You know, even just talking to your own spouse at home.
Yeah.
Maybe there are some conversations I will try to avoid and be like, we'll talk about that maybe later on.
Yeah.
But where do you go?
You're home.
You're home. So let's sit down and talk about those hard conversations. And literally, I learned so much, even about my own husband that I didn't even know. Yeah, so the power of communication became like a really big tool for me at that particular time. And even talking to the people in the hospitals, the way you see them kind of fizzling out and you're talking to their relatives back home, it taught you a way of delivering news and information and just updating people on what's going on. Yeah, I learned a lot about it, just the power of communication for myself especially.
Wow. And I think also personal growth in a way that instead of focusing on the little things, right? Especially if you have roommates or you have, a family or whatever. There's those little nitpicky things. And if you watch our previous episodes, we were talking about pet peeves. But those are just, from a vision of this is a privilege. How do you leave a toothpaste and open, whatever. But during the pandemic, to be honest, and even after, it's just about, I actually do appreciate having you here. I would have been quarantined by myself. Thank you. You were right here. I'm just glad that you're here. I'm glad that you are able. Because my husband, to be honest, the entire pandemic, he didn't let me go to the store even once. The whole time he would mask up, he would go get groceries, he would go do all these things because he wanted me to be safe. Yeah. Just things like that. The fact that he's just willing to almost sacrifice himself so that the wife stays home and is safe. You just really appreciate that.
For me, there was no way out because I'm literally from the battleground. So how can you miss passing by through a grocery store, right? Yeah. Boots on the ground.
Wow. You're the boots on the ground.
Right? Yeah, we learned a lot during the pandemic. Some good, some not so good. Some for our own personal growth. Some for maybe it created a way of fear for some people. Because I remember one time I went to, and this was the beginning of the pandemic. I always think about this and I'm like, wow, I felt what discrimination to an essential worker felt at that particular time. In a funny way. So I forgot I had my stethoscope on. So I'm just busy rushing into a grocery store and this guy literally looked at me and he froze.
He knows you're bringing COVID?
Yeah. And so I'm trying to, check out. He literally grabbed my cat, picked up some Lysol wipes and wiped everything down and he's looking at me like I'm wiping all this because of you. And then I realized, oh shoot, I had my stethoscope on. I still had my badge on so I can tell literally she's either working COVID unit. So I kind of felt bad, but I learned people were so fearful. And I won't even blame him, but I
actually read somewhere that a lot of people who are in the frontline nursing and hospital workers would actually change out of their scrubs
into
their normal clothing before leaving the hospital, because
at the door
or in their cars, because they were afraid of being discriminated against. Like someone sees you coming and they're like, oh my goodness, they were in the COVID.
Can you imagine somebody seeing you coming with scrubs on and they take off and run? If they ask them what, and you're trying to follow them behind, you're like, it's you that I'm running away from. So it kind of unlocked a fear that maybe was not there necessarily. But I could see why that guy was freaked out. Maybe the grandma was sick or something, right?
Oh my goodness.
But I went home kind of feeling bad, but thinking about it, I'm like, he was just trying to be protective of his loved ones.
And COVID was scary because you would watch the news and they would say, X number of people have died. And then you would watch it actually in the news, especially the one in New York. You remember the way they would say in the news, and people are being buried like in mass graves. That was terrible. People being buried in mass graves.
That was insane.
It was insane.
I think it was New York and Italy.
Yes.
That got really
I remember
bad.
that,
I mean, it got bad to, I think, almost every other place in the world. But I don't think it got like worse than New York and Italy. Those two were like really, they were going like almost head to head on the number of people who were dying on a particular day.
But we've come out resilient from that.
I think also another one before we wrap it up was the amount of research that now like all the healthcare professionals were supposed to do and learning something different. And even in school, when I was actually talking to my friends who were still in nursing school, you go to clinicals for hands-on and skills and stuff. No, those things actually were done through a simulation process, which is done online. So can you imagine somebody who's fresh from college, never did anything and hands-on. Yes. And then all of a sudden you're thrown into the battleground and you're expected to perform the way you're supposed to perform. I mean, you can't. So it changed so many dynamics. I don't know whether it increased the quality of care or decreased the quality of care. For me, I say it always decreased the quality of care, to be honest. Because at that point, we were just like recruiting anybody who's fresh from college.
And brave enough.
Or anybody who was retired like 10 years ago, right? Because not even nursing, healthcare is always evolving into something new in terms of technology and stuff. So you can just imagine how much you missed out for 10 years, and then all of a sudden they're asking you to come and work with new pumping machines. You're just like, how do you even work with that?
And speaking of research and technology, you know, the quickness in which the COVID vaccine came, it made me really reflect on diseases of the world. There's a lot of diseases out there that affect
a lot of people.
Like malaria.
Like malaria. That's a good example. But it has taken many, many years to get a vaccine for those diseases. So it made me reflect on diseases that are in other parts of the world that are actually killing people. Malaria is killing a lot of people, but it doesn't really get the level of attention that other diseases are getting. So do these diseases have to affect the so-called first world countries for there to be urgency in getting vaccines out there? So, I mean, I am appreciative of the COVID vaccine. I have taken my first dose, my second dose, and a booster. Willingly.
Wow. You're boosted.
I'm boosted. And I've done it willingly. I'm not required by my job to do it. I've done it willingly. So I appreciate that. But what about the other diseases in the world that are killing people? Especially malaria.
That's like the number one disease when it comes to childbirth mortality in Africa. I mean, one day when we become like really rich, maybe we can create a vaccine for African children for malaria, right? But in general, I feel like we literally learned almost like we grew into people, into characters that we didn't expect to grow into. So we molded into what the world wanted us to mold into. And also for me, I think just appreciating diversity. Really was a big thing for me. You know, the way, and I always don't like to get political, but the way people from Asia were getting hate. but it's the same people also that we needed as healthcare workers in the hospitals to take care of you. So for me, I learned so much to appreciate diversity regardless of where you come from. At that point, I valued life, and I realized everybody here is very important. It doesn't matter where you come from. Life is life. Whether you die by a COVID or you die by an accident, it's death. But at the end of the day, if you need that one person from Asia, from Africa, from America, from Europe, and they're the only people who can provide you with what you want, you will literally take it. At that point, it doesn't matter. When you go draw blood in a blood bank, when you give out your blood, I mean, when it goes into the blood bank, it doesn't discriminate whose blood is this. So for me, learning to appreciate diversity at that particular time was like on another level.
And I like how you say life is life, because it reminds me of a book study that I was doing with this therapist. And she says that every time she ends a session, she will tell, her clients like, hey, place your hand on your chest and then just hear that heart beating. That heart is beating for you, it's beating for everyone around you, and that's life. It just tells you it's not about anything else, but it's just about the life that like when you think about someone, when you see anyone, when you see even an animal, they have that same exact heartbeat that you do. And that's the most important thing.
Wow, that's good.
Ooh, I love that.
That is that's deep.
Deep. You brought the life.
I think at that particular time we should end it, because I don't know if anybody can top that. So for
We should shout her out.
So for that reason, thank you so much, guys, for watching. Just to appreciate our decor today is by Wenmo. If you need her services, I will provide you with the details. Also, just make sure you subscribe, interact with us in case you need to ask us any questions. Just make sure you post the questions on our comment section. If you need to get more personal, we have our email address attached. Not too personal though. And also, if you want to subscribe to our channel, make sure you do. I always say tell a friend to tell a friend. Tell your mother-in-law, your father-in-law, and your enemy. All of them. So we are on a journey to 1,000 subscribers, guys. So just make sure you subscribe. We have a lot in store for us, but also we want to know what type of topics or conversations you guys would like. So thank you so much, ladies, for your great contributions today. Until next time, this is what?
Girl Dynasty.
Adios.
Ciao.